Hey everyone, welcome back to my Study Fundamental series where I talk about the fundamental study techniques and tactics that I use in order to succeed in the IB. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the differences between understanding and remembering. How I say it is that when learning anything in school, there's really only like 3 steps to it. Like first, you got to understand it. Second, you have to remember it. And third, you have to know how to effectively apply those skills that you learned in the exam. And all of these steps are interlinked, and all of them are crucial to the learning process if you are striving for long-term learning of a thing. However, where I think a lot of kids go wrong is that they think trying to develop that understanding is a waste of time, and they skip straight to memorization. This especially happens when you start to learn about flashcards for the first time and you realize like how effective they are. You kind of think that, oh, maybe I can just turn everything that the teacher says into a flashcard and then I can just like memorize from there. But that isn't that effective. That's kind of the wrong way to go about it. I think flashcards are great, but only for after you've understood something in order to like nail down those really important facts that you need to know for an exam. But I really emphasize and like I really push kids towards like trying to develop that deep understanding of a concept or a topic first before they launch into memorization mode, which is important for the exam later on. But when you're first starting, understanding and developing that understanding is like the most important thing, and it's the most helpful for life, right? Like who cares if you can like memorize the periodic table if you can't like understand like how we can actually use this in chemistry. Prioritizing understanding is particularly important for the IB. In the IB, you are expected to memorize and learn 2 years worth of content, all for a 3-week exam period at the end of those 2 years. And what this means is that you really have to prioritize long-term learning, because that's what the exams are looking for, because they're based off 2 years worth of content. And whenever you want to prioritize long-term learning, you need to develop that strong foundation which resembles your understanding of the topic at the start. Simply trying to memorize everything in the IB doesn't really work for anyone, and it really hurts you in the long run if you just try and like rote memorize everything. You have to create that foundation for which you can build on top of. These exams, and I know this from experience, they really are a test of your understanding of a topic more than they are a test for memorization and how much information is in your head. It's more about how well do you understand the content rather than like, do you know all the facts? And by that I mean it's just never going to be enough to just memorize the mark scheme answers to all of the past paper questions. You actually have to understand the content. So let me give you an example to illustrate like what I'm talking about. So in my school, there were these kids who would always get 7s, and they would always do really well on tests, and they would always do really well on mock exams. And this is because essentially before a test or before a mock exam, they would essentially go through all of the past papers and just do every single past paper on a topic and basically memorize all of the mark scheme answers to the questions, so that when they went into the test or the mock exam, they knew all of the answers already because they had just memorized them from the mark scheme. However, when it came to the real exam, they were at a real disadvantage, and their scores actually dropped a lot in comparison to their predicted. And this is because in the exam, the IB hit them with questions that were quite different to the past papers. The questions were still within the IB syllabus. It's not like the IB just hit that year hard for no reason, but the questions were worded in like a different way to all of the normal past papers. And it's never that the questions couldn't be done or the questions couldn't be answered. It's that the questions could only be done if the students had like a genuine understanding of the topic and had not just memorized the mark scheme answers. Therefore, because these students prioritize memorization over actually developing their understanding of the topic, the fact that this new question that the IB put in the exam came from like a different angle that they weren't expecting really threw them off, because they didn't actually understand the material to begin with. But for the kids who like prioritize understanding over memorization, they could see it from a different angle, because that's what like being able to understand something means. It means you're able to see something from a different perspective and still be able to work with it. Maths is a great example for this. Most people, when studying calculus, trigonometry, or algebra, strive to just memorize all of the formulas without actually understanding what the formulas mean. And this definitely works in the short term, but if you really want to take your thinking and learning to the next level, you really want to start from trying to understand those formulas from first principles. Understand the derivation of the formulas, understand like what all of those symbols mean and how they connect to each other. They didn't do that. They just memorized the equation and thought, okay, I'm good. I've got this thing in my head. I can snap it out like that and become a human calculator. No, it doesn't work like that. Trying to develop a strong understanding for a topic takes time initially, but is eventually worth it, because when you strive to set this like foundational understanding for yourself, it actually means you're going to have a far better time remembering it later on, and it means that topics that are built on top of that subject are going to be easier for you because you like really understand this bottom layer stuff. I was really slow in my math class, and I was a lot of the times behind because I would spend like so long really trying to like tackle with this concept and like really trying to understand it, whilst everyone else was quickly going to the formulas and quickly going towards like just doing the math problems like without really thinking about it. But this helped me later down the line when we had a topic test, because whilst everyone else had essentially forgotten what they had learned because they were just trying to spend the day memorizing it, all I had to really do is just re-go through it once or twice, and everything would just start to come back to me because I spent that time really trying to understand it in the first place. This is the thing, right? When you first do a topic, it's always going to be easier the second, third, fourth, fifth time, so you don't really need to worry about how long it takes you at the start, because the start is always the longest period in which it takes for you to understand a topic. But the longer you spend at the start, essentially what it means is that the less amount of time you have to spend studying later. Like the longer that you spend really trying to get out of it now is you saving time when you get to calculus and you have lots of questions because you didn't solidify your algebra knowledge. We had done calculus like about 6 months before the exams hit, and then about 2 months before the exams hit, I remember everyone like was stressing out because they had only just memorized all of calculus formulas, not really understood calculus. But I actually spent time like really trying to understand calculus, and so when I came back to it, even though I hadn't done it in many months, it all like just naturally came back to me because I spent a lot of time like developing that understanding first, forget about memorization, focusing on understanding, and so it was just really easy for me to just pick back up later then. Now I know as IB students you guys have a lot on your plate, and it's really hard to balance 6 subjects at once as well as do EE and TOK and CAS and all this crap, but I want you to emphasize the importance of understanding versus remembering, because if you sacrifice time now to really try and understand what you're going to do, it actually really does save you time later, I promise you. And it's just better for your brain if you actually like focus on understanding rather than just memorizing, because what good does memorizing do for you? And yeah, that's it for this video. It's just a quick video to talk about understanding versus memorizing, but I think you guys get what I'm talking about now. I thought I'd just give my 2 cents on this issue because I feel like a lot of students mess up on this a lot because they're so focused on memorizing, and I just want to put out this message. In the next video, I'm going to be diving deeper into the topic of understanding. I'm going to be talking about what it means to understand something. I'm going to be talking about how to test your understanding of something, and I'm going to be talking about how you can develop your understanding of something. So if you're interested in that, check out the next video. And yeah, so that's all I have for you guys today. See you in my next video. Bye!